Hello YouTube, welcome back. So this is part 2 of my Petrosian series, and starting from where we left off, in 1947, he earned the title of master at the USSR Chess Championship, and then he set off to improve his game by studying Nemzovich's book My System, and by moving to Moscow in 1949 to seek greater competition. I actually have that book, My System. I highly recommend it. It was actually my first chess book. Yeah, so as I explained in the previous video, Aaron Nenzovich had a huge influence on Petrosian, namely concerning Aaron Nenzovich's fondness of attacking your opponent's center with your pieces instead of actually holding the center with pawns. And after Petrosian moved to Moscow, his career as a chess player advanced rapidly, and his results in Soviet events steadily improved. He placed second in the 1951 Soviet Championship, in which he earned the title of International Master. And it was at this tournament that he faced the world champion Botvinnik for the first time, in which it was a 100-move game, which was 11 hours and resulted in a draw. And we're not going to go over that game in this video. You can search it on the internet. But yeah, it's a pretty dry game, very long. He placed second in this tournament, so we're actually going to look at one of the games he played in round 15 against Taimanov. So in this game, Petrosian was white, and it started with knight f3, knight f6, c4, e6, d4, b6. So this is a Indian defense. e3, bishop b4 check, knight bd2, bishop b7, bishop d3, knight e4, queen c2, and f5. So this is a very common idea in this opening for black. So black tries to solidify his knight on e4, weakening the king side, but in turn he gains space and he can bring his queen to h4 once the knight moves, and then get his rook. Try to get this rook, to f8, then f6. Things of that nature in order to attack white's king. So other f5, white castles short. Then black played bishop takes d2. And also we see in this position that black doesn't achieve the weakening of white's pawn structure. So what can happen usually is that white will get doubled c pawns, and then black would try for the same idea, but white doesn't have any counterplay on the queen side because of his weak pawns. Knight takes d2, queen h4, f3, kicking the knight away, and sort of, making sure this bishop on b7 hits a wall, on f3, g2. Knight takes d2, bishop takes d2, castle short, b4. Yeah, so white is seeking counterplay on the queen side. Knight c6, c5, a6, bishop c3, giving the bishop a very nice diagonal. Knight e7, queen f2. Yeah, so if black trades queens, then white has a really good advantage, because of his bishops and his play on the queen side. And black doesn't have anything, because without queens he can't really get a strong attack on the king. So black responded with queen h5, and then bishop e2, rook f6. Yeah, so like I said, black wants to get the rook to f6, and then to h6 or g6. So the rook f6, a4, knight g6, g3. So preventing this knight from going to a really nice square and attacking. And then at this point, black tried to move the knight to a better square with knight h8, bishop e2. So this move is kind of preparing pawn to f4. So after knight f7, f4 really limits black's play on the king side. Even though he's weakening a lot of the light squares, he just play bishop to f3 if he's ever in danger. And yeah, his light squares are pretty fine. So they're f4, queen g6, rook fc1, bishop to e4, c takes b6, c takes b6. And here Petrosian played a really strong move. So I recommend that you pause this video and try to find the move for yourself. So what is the best move here for white? Alright, so if you found it, good job. The move is bishop takes a6, because after rook takes a6, rook c8 check, knight d8, rook takes d8 check, rook f8, rook takes f8 check, king takes f8. So white won a pawn, and he got one set of minor pieces and rooks off the board. So he got a really nice advantage because of this. So after king takes f8, queen 2, rook a8, a5. So he's making use of his extra pawn, and he tries to push it as far as he can and try to promote it. a5, b takes a5, b takes a5, queen e8, a6, king g8, d5. So it's a very strong move also. It gives his bishop a nice long diagonal to work with, and then you can maneuver the bishop to the a7 g1 diagonal. So it's overall a very, very strong move. d5, bishop takes d5, bishop c3, queen c8, and queen d3. So it's not the best move. I think he has bishop to c4. Yeah, sort of forking this pawn. Yeah, so after this, he has to play queen to d4. This counterattacks on g7, and so actually, yeah, if you guys are paying attention, he can't play bishop to c4 because of this reason. So this is what white is threatening. All right, so after queen to d3, black stopped the threat of queen d4 with queen to c5. And then after queen to c5, rook a5 was played. And yeah, white should have tried for the same idea in queen to d4. Because after queen to d4, he's threatening mate on g7, and so it's kind of forcing black to trade queens, and then you can get what happened in the game faster. So after queen to c4, yeah, black also had bishop to c4 at this point, so it was attacking the queen, and black is also attacking e3, so if the queen moves too far, you can take on e3. And yeah, it's also attacking a6. So yeah, black missed that move. So queen c4, queen takes c4, bishop takes c4, a7, and d6. Yeah, so I feel this move wasn't that good. I guess it gives the king a path to go to the queen side, but his pawn ends up being dropped. So you should have played bishop to d5, and then could have continued h3, king f7, and then king f2, king e2, and something similar to the game. So bishop d4, bishop d5, and yeah, so d6 is black just gave up d6 for no reason. And rook c8, bishop c5, king f7, king f2, king e8, king e2, h6, king d3, g5, rook b5, king d7, king d4, g4, rook b8. Yeah, so white is maneuvering his rook to a better square and trying to promote this pawn. So h5, bishop b6, bishop f3, king e5. So black is using his active king to try to win some of black's pawns. Because at this point, it's not that obvious how white is gonna promote his pawn. And so king f6, rook e8, king g5, rook c8, king takes h5, bishop e4, king g5, bishop d5, king f6, rook e8, bishop d4, rook c8, bishop e5. So I believe he is getting the idea of how to win. It's very instructive how he does this. You can use this in your own games. Rook e8, king f7. So he's cutting off the king from going to e7 or e8. After rook c8, rook b6 introduces the threat of rook d6 check. So let's see, like he played bishop c6, and instead if he just played rook here, you have rook d6 check. And say king to c7, then you have rook takes bishop. And instead of that, if he plays king here, then you just take the bishop anyway. And then you just have like too many pawns. Like if he tries this, then yeah, you just play king takes e6, and then king takes f5, king takes g4. So yeah, after bishop c6, well, I played bishop b8, and black resigned his position. Can you see what the threat is for white? So the threat is twofold. Let's say black plays a move, like any move, And white is gonna castle to a queen. Bishop takes queen, and then rook d6 checkmate. Or rook takes bishop, rook takes rook, and queen. This also is queen. Yeah, so after bishop to b8, black just resigned. Yeah, so pretty good game. And the result from this event qualified him for the interzonal the following year in Stockholm, in which he earned the title of Grandmaster by coming in second place. So for this tournament, we're gonna look at a game he played against Grandmaster Szabo. So Petrosian was playing with the black pieces, and yeah, so this is Szabo. This is round 15. The game started with e4, c5, knight f3, d6, d4, c6, d4, knight 6, d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, so it's a Najdorf defense, f4, queen c7, bishop e2, and e5. So it's very, very common in the Najdorf to go for e5 and then bring the bishops to e6, e7, knight b7. Yeah, it's been studied very much by every grandmaster, chess engines. Very, very strong, common opening for both sides. So the e5, knight f3, bishop e6, f5, bishop c4. So trading bishops is also a very common idea in the Najdorf. Bishop g5, knight b7, and the position is overall equal. Knight d2, bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, rook c8, a3, queen b6, long castles, and Petrosian plays a really strong move here. So pause your video and try to find the move that Petrosian played in this position. So the Petrosian played rook takes c3, destroying white's defense on the king side. And this is not a winning tactic, but rather a move that just like, makes white's king a little bit weaker, and then the future black can take advantage of that situation. So b takes c3, and then black responded with a very, very strong move that you always want to try to get when you play the Sicilian. So these all moves were aiming for one idea. So rook takes c3, b takes c3. In order to prepare black's next move. That move is d5. So as you can see, d5 opens up the bishop to attack a3, and yeah, there's no more knight. The king is weak. This is actually bishop takes a3 checkmates. And white has to try to defend. And yeah, white has to unfortunately move his pieces to a very passive square. And yeah, after d5, white played knight b1. And yeah, this pawn is free now. The center pawn. And black played knight takes e4. D takes e4 would have been better. And then after queen c4, knight c5, holding onto the pawn. Yeah, so instead he played knight takes e4, and then rook takes d5. So he's giving up his bishop in order to make use of black's position in the center. Like, black hasn't castled yet. And yeah, Petrosian accepted. He took the bishop on g5, and then white played h4, attacking the knight. And the knight doesn't have that many good squares to go to. He's actually trapped, so yeah. Petrosian had to play like a move with the bishop, and he chose bishop c5, which wasn't the best. He should have played bishop to e7. Yeah, white is actually better here. So he played bishop c5, h takes g5, bishop e3, check, knight d2, bishop takes g5, and then queen d3. So here, like in this game, we see that white starts to make inaccurate moves. So starting with queen d3, he should have played queen g4, and then black would play bishop f4, and then white would play queen takes g7, and white is practically winning in this position. So either queen d3, queen c7, threatening knight b6, winning back the exchange, and then king d1, and then bishop takes d2. He can't go for knight b6 right now, and because white will play rook takes e5 check. And can you see what's going to happen after queen takes e5? It's not that hard, but it's still important to know why you can't go after this rook. Yeah, because after rook takes e5, queen takes e5, rook e1 wins the queen. And while it's not over, it's still kind of hard to play because you don't have like that much coordination with your pieces. And the king is still in the center. So instead, he correctly forwarded knight b6 for now. And after king takes d2, f6. So now he's protecting e5, and now he's really threatening knight b6. King c1. He wants to bring the rook to d1. Knight b6, rook d6. Castle short, so he really successfully gets out of the line of fire by castling short. And rook d1. So white's idea is to play rook d8, trading pieces and trying to win that endgame. Queen c5, rook d8, queen takes a3 check, king b1, and Petrosian played an inaccuracy with h5 because his pawn is weak. He should have instead just played h6, keeping it solid. And after rook takes f6, queen takes f8, rook takes f8 check, queen takes f8. Instead, he played h5, and then rook takes f8, queen takes f8, and white should have played rook h1. So, attacking his pawn. And it's not that easy to defend for black. Instead, he played queen e4, queen e7, queen b4, queen c7, and then he messed up with queen d6. He should have just played queen e4. So this what remains would keep some advantage for white, although it's actually just equal. Yeah, white misplayed this, and now he has to fight to not lose the game. Yeah, queen d6 gives a pretty sizable advantage for black. Queen takes d6, rook takes d6, and then knight d4. So that's attacking the rook, trying to get the knight to e3, and to stop this, he has to make his rook passive, and it's overall not good. It's not good. And so knight c4, rook d7, b5, rook a7, knight e3, rook takes a6, knight takes g2, king c1, h4. So yeah, he's pushing his pawn, and it's not that easy to stop. So king d2, h3, rook a1. It's pretty much the only way to stop this pawn. Knight h4, so going after f5. c4, so white has hopes of getting this c pawn on c2 to c8, but he doesn't even get close, and ends up being a waste of time. So after this, he should have played a rook h1, attacking the pawn. So we take c4, rook h1, knight takes f5, king c3. Should have played rook takes h3, and then yeah, knight d6, rook takes h3, king f7, rook h7, f5, and now white should have at least tried rook h5 to prevent him from playing f4. But he played king b4, which is a very pointless move. He still has hopes. He wants to play king c5 and then get the pawn, but it's too slow. And then f4, and black is winning now. King c5, f3, so this is pointless. He doesn't have to move the knight because the pawn is promoting. Rook h1, e4. And then, yeah, so black is going to play f2, and then e3, and then e2. And there's not any way to stop it. Or even just e3, e2, any combination of those moves. Yeah, so here white resigned, and Petrosian won the game. So it just goes to show that along with his very good tactical vision, he's also very strong at endgames and positional exchange sacrifices. And yeah, for anyone who is looking to play the Sicilian Najdorf as black, you should have this game in the back of your minds, because it goes over some very useful ideas, such as the exchange sacrifice, and then d5 opening the game. Yeah, so, and with his success in this event, he qualified for the 1953 Canada's tournament. And yeah, we're gonna go over that tournament in the next video. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give a like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.